What's up, you guys? My name is Charlie. I'm here with MAPerformance, and today we're going to talk about the Integra from 2022 DC2 DC5 versus the new modern gen. Kevin, what do you think?
What's up, guys? It's MAPerformance. My name is Kevin. And we're talking about the new Integra.
Me and Kevin, we've been drinking a little bit of tequila here, and we're gonna review this car drunk. And I keep losing my mic box.
Yep.
Could you get it together, man?
I can't.
All right, guys, so obviously you guys have seen this reviewed by multiple other people. We've got this bottle of tequila here, not just for looks, but because we've already drank about 3/5 of the bottle of tequila between Kevin and I, just to prepare for reviewing this car with the unfiltered but slightly censored truth about our opinion of the Acura Integra. Now again, there's been a lot of people who've reviewed it, but they haven't done it like this.
No, and honestly, it's needed in order to talk about this car, in my opinion. And so many people may not agree with it, but I think there's also a lot of people that will agree with that. So before we get started and before we deep dive into Charlie's hatred of this car, let's look at the facts and talk about what this car actually is. Starting at right around $30,000, you get an upscale Civic Si with a turbo 1.5 and an optional 6-speed manual, which in my opinion makes for a good platform.
Honestly, this is one of those cars that, honestly, in my opinion, drives me to drink, if I'm being serious, because this was one of those cars that I looked forward to so much, but it has let me down on almost every occasion with the exception of the engine platform that they included in this car, which is the 1.5T.
But let me ask you this, why is that, right? Isn't it just an upscale, more luxurious Civic Si at the end of the day?
At the end of the day, it's just another Si. I could cut this video super short by seriously just including the fact that this is one of those cars that shouldn't have been called what it's called. It shouldn't have been called an Integra. They should have just called it an ILX and called it a day. But because they called it an Integra, it's gotten the scrutiny that it has thus far. By
people in their mom's basement?
Honestly, me in my mom's basement. Anybody else literally anybody who's reviewed this car and said that it's a piece of shit has been judging it based on the fact that they're comparing it to the previous DC2 and DC5 Integra chassis. Those were legendary platforms in my opinion. It was actually my very first car was a DC2 Integra. And to see this as the new Integra, it's f***ed up.
But here's the thing, are we looking at it from a nostalgia aspect of looking back at what the car was? Because when it first came out, it was nothing more than an upscale Civic at the end of the day. And if we look at it what it is now, it's exactly that, an upscale Civic. So where's the difference? Look, is it just because we have this idea of what it was in the past and how legendary it was? And will it be that in the next 10 to 15 years? With all the new electric vehicles that are coming out and the way that the market is going, that's what we have to look forward to. So the fact that we have these, we should be appreciative of that fact.
I'm gonna ask one thing. Should every car manufacturer take note of Nissan? And I'm gonna go ahead and reference this with some pre-framing, being that Nissan nailed it on the head when it comes to enthusiast vehicles. The new Nissan Z speaks to every aspect of performance and drivability that every enthusiast here, at least to my knowledge, is looking for, right? Manual transmission. Manual transmission. Yeah, that's what I need. Manual transmission.
Rear-wheel drive,
twin turbos, LSD,
V6,
manual transmission, V6. Does the new Nissan Z or not? Tell me down below.
You guys tell us. Yes.
I'm gonna go ahead and say one thing. Why is this car called an Integra?
The Integra was a 4-door.
Why is this car called an Integra? No, it's not. The Integra you and I both think of is a 2-door car.
From
Tell me why.
1992, 30 years ago.
Tell me why.
There was a 4-door Integra. There just was.
This guy. My least favorite feature about the new Integra is all 4 of the doors.
I 100% agree with that. I think it would look much better, and there's a rendering on the screen right now of what it would look like as a hatchback.
Keys did an amazing rendering of this car as a coupe. And I'm gonna be honest, with the exception of the wing, I love everything that this guy did about the rendering of the car. If this was the car that they sold, take my money. Because if this was the car, I'd buy it all day long, and I'd do nothing but praise this as it is. 2 doors is the correct amount of doors for an Acura Integra.
What if it had 3? What
Well, I mean, if you
a
technically
Velociter?
consider the
hatch?
lift back,
The boot?
the boot,
No.
depending on where you
No,
live.
that's not a door, that's a trunk.
Okay, just
So 2.
shut up. So if you were to consider the trunk its own door, 3 doors, 2 doors,
No.
anything but 4
2.
or 5 doors is the correct number of doors.
Correct.
When they made the video for the premiere launch, they literally only used DC2, aka 2-door version examples of the Integra, which is potentially a hint that, again, they're going to go ahead and produce a 2-door version, and this 4-door is just this big PR stunt that they've done where like no bad marketing is bad marketing at all.
Well, and that's the thing, it is the base model Integra. There's always been a base model Integra, so maybe that Type S, I think that's what it is in the Integras, is going to be, or to the Type R, excuse me, is going to be the 2-door model. And that's why they were showing it to hype it up.
If I'm being honest, I pray to God that is the truth. Because I really hope they come out with a 2-door version of this car.
If you are an Acura executive, please let us know in the comments down below.
Yes, please identify yourself as an Acura executive. Do you think that people really just wanted a resurgence of the DC2 and that no matter what Acura did, this was set to fail? No. If I were to answer this, I would honestly say yes. Because there's no way that they thought that doing a 4-door Acura Integra was acceptable.
I disagree. I think that bringing back the familiarity of the name that everybody's so in love with is just a way of getting people to talk about the vehicle and
But you can't bring back the Integra with 4 doors and actually expect people to respond appropriately.
Look at the Charger, look at the Dart. There's plenty of examples of where they've done that, and maybe it hasn't lived up to the expectations, but it's done so successfully.
The future of the Integra still may be there, because even though the Charger had its rough beginnings with the resurgence of it in the early 2000s, the resurgence of it in years past, the new Chargers look dope, right? They look cool as shit because they went ahead and they took consumer feedback and they applied it to the cars they're making today.
And it was the platform on which we got the 392, the SRT8, the Hellcat, any of the other models that fall under the supercharged engine that was offered. And I think we're gonna get the same thing with the Integra. So although we may
ask you a question.
not be happy with it now, there's potential, and that's more than most other brands can offer.
It's coming with a 1.5T. Do we think that the Type R Integra should be offered as a 2-door version with a K20 C1?
AKA the Type R motor.
AKA.
Yes, 100%. I don't know, let us
Stay
know
true
what
to
you
your
guys
roots.
think. A
Do you
2-door
think that-
K20C?
What should the
Front-wheel
Type
drive?
R Integra be, if they make one at all? Should it be a K20 C1 front-wheel drive Acura Integra with 2 doors? You let us know. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the fact that I actually owned a DC2 Integra.
It was actually my very first car was a DC2 Integra.
I owned a DC2 Integra, not even with the fast engine. And this car was honestly my pride and joy. I dreamt of it being this fast car. My friend had an EM1 Civic with a B16 swap, and I dreamt of my car being faster than his.
Was it ever?
Absolutely not. My car was forever a piece of shit. And like, that's why me as a 29, 30-year-old adult, I dreamt of the new Integra being the car I could never afford as a teenager. And this car that they've released has let me down on every occasion, with the exception of the 1.5T.
And the 6-speed manual.
width and the 6-speed manual. The new Integra, in one word, is described as letdown. I'm putting a hyphen in there to make it one word.
I can't.
Disappointment.
I would describe it in one word as expected.
As expected? Dude, how is this expected?
The Integra
How
has,
did you expect this?
the Integra has,
This is like a tornado that
It's-
hits you out of left field.
it's always been a Civic, it's still a Civic. That's the end of story right there.
I am so disappointed in this car. How can you describe it as expected?
Until they make an SVX, I will never share that sentiment.
An SVX?
An SVX
My man.
had the same windows as a Lamborghini. Pause.
Kevin, I'm becoming more disappointed with you by the minute.
Why? Because I speak the facts?
No, because you're a he thinks this is a good car and it's not. Honestly, Acura took the car I loved and turned it into a Ford up version, and Kevin likes it. And I don't love that at all. Because it came with a manual transmission?
Yeah.
Is that what defines an enthusiast car today?
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I could cry. Look, if there was one thing I could have said over and over again in this video, I did, is that the new Integra should have had 2 doors. If it was a coupe, I wouldn't have been giving it a foot up the ass this whole time.
If you want an upscale Civic Si, you buy the Integra. That's
No, you don't! It's the same car! This is gonna drive me to drink.
Thanks for watching, guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and that's all we got.
I'm not gonna be here for the next video.